Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. That thing I said I'm not doing anymore, that I seem to keep doing. Yeah, I've got things to talk about a bit, maybe. A thing that I've been asked about, and another thing that I thought about that kind of fits in with that a bit, maybe. First thing, God, where to start? How to start? Gaming on original hardware. Obviously emulators are a thing and very popular and serve a purpose. They're convenient, they don't take up a lot of space, you can play a lot of systems and cram them all into one computer or one handheld, and that's great. But as I and others say, you don't get the real experience that you get when you're playing the original hardware. And I believe this to be true. Now, you then get things like emulation of arcade systems. I use MAME because I can't afford to fill my room with arcade cabinets, not even one. It's small, I can't fit anything else in here, much less arcade cabinets. But I do have this here, the Pandora's box, and it gives a pretty fair approximation of playing arcade games on an arcade cabinet, kind of. I mean, you haven't got the fancy artwork on it and you know it's not the real thing, but you've got the genuine sticks there and the button layouts and everything. It's a lot like playing an arcade game. So how authentic is the experience, especially in playing two-player against someone? And there is someone in this house who it's funny, it wasn't until I moved out of the house I've been living in for the past 13 years and moved here that I ever actually got to play against someone on this thing. And was it like an arcade experience? No, it wasn't. And why? I pondered this. You know, it's more or less the kind of hardware you would expect in the arcade in terms of joysticks and buttons and two people standing next to each other and both looking at the same screen. So, and playing it like single player. Why is it not the same? And I pondered. The obvious answer is, well, I'm not in an arcade. You haven't got the lighting, you haven't got the atmosphere, you haven't got the scruffy oik wanting to use your last life on Space Invaders, all that kind of crap. Dodgy, smelly, whatever. There's none of that danger or sort of slight dodgy atmosphere. But it's not even that. It's actually how the game makes you feel is not the same. Never mind that the place is, it's not an arcade. The game doesn't feel the same. And it's not about the controller either. And it dawned on me eventually what it was. The game... My recollection of playing video games as a kid in the arcades was that the games were intimidating. They had taken your money and challenged you to beat them. And you weren't going to beat them. The best you could hope for was a few minutes of play before they crushed you and laughed in your face because they'd got your money. Does that sound bizarre? But that's how it was. That's how it felt to me. Maybe I perceive things weird. Well, no, I do perceive things weirdly, but that's how I perceived them. It was the challenge. It was this thing's got my money, so I've got to show it who's boss, and invariably got my ass kicked. And that's a thing that's missing in it's not, it's missing in modern gaming, but it's missing in retro gaming where you're playing arcade games. I mean, it doesn't matter, console games and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter that it's not there because they play in a different way. They're big. There is a lot to play. There are worlds to explore, even on like smaller games. I mean, Mario or Sonic or whatever, retro by modern standards, but they're big games. There's a lot to explore, and it wasn't about. It was a different kind of challenge. But arcade games, classic arcade games, they were all about survive for as long as you can. And that intensity, that menace, that intimidation, that feeling that this machine has got the better of you or is going to get the better of you, and you've got to show it who's boss, that is missing. And I think that's a thing you just can't recreate in the home now, and you actually don't get it playing. It wasn't there going to replay because all the things are on free play, so you can go along there, and to a degree you've got the arcade atmosphere, sort of, little bit. That there's none of the dodginess about it, but you've got the noise, you've got all the people. You might be playing against someone, but it's not the same because it hasn't taken your money. Yeah, I'm not really trying to go anywhere beyond that. It's just something that kind of has been on my mind a little bit, and it kind of came to mind, followed through from, and a question that I've been asked several times actually, by viewers. What do I think of modern games that are made with a retro style? Things like, and I'm not exactly sure I'm getting the titles right here, Super Meat Boy, oh god, there was one I played recently, Not a Hero I think it's called. There's another one, Horizon Chaser, something like that, a driving game. What's it? Streets of Rage 4 just coming out. And this thing behind me, what's it called? Can't remember. I'll tell you in a sec. It's called Super Distronaut DX. Yeah, whatever. I mean, look. Wow, that's, yeah. It's Space Invaders-esque. I'm not going to play, I'm just showing you the kind of thing I mean. So you've got games on modern hardware that are done in a retro style. They're maybe based on the gameplay and visuals of old school arcade games or console games. What do I think of them? This is what I've been asked recently by a few people. And the short answer is, I don't really like them. And the question then becomes, why? Because modern games are big and involved, and big storylines, impressive graphics, and they take a lot of time. They take an investment of time that I don't always have, which is why I often go for the retro stuff, because it is very pick up and play. So you would think I would like stuff like this, and I don't. And I've had to kind of ponder, why do I not like them? And I think the thing is, when I play classic games on classic hardware, particularly at the time, but even now it's still valid, a big factor in what I like about a game is is it pushing the hardware? Is it something that makes you go, that's really impressive that they made this game do this? Maybe it was impressive because the hardware was pushed. Maybe it was impressive because it was pushing gaming technology at the time. Outrun, visually, was the most stunning arcade game I had played at the time that it came out. I'm not actually a fan of Outrun. The gameplay I don't especially like. It kind of frustrates me. But I love the visuals and the whole superscalar graphics that Sega were pushing at that time blew me away. So when I see a game now like Horizon Chaser that is basically Outrun but with super glossy high resolution graphics done on modern hardware, I'm just like, meh, so what? It's not pushing the boundaries of anything. It's just an old style game, but high resolution, you know, and shiny. Meh, don't care. I didn't really care for the gameplay back then. So you've taken a game with, in my opinion, fairly shallow gameplay and done it on with shiny new graphics, and I'm just like, so what? What is going to impress me about that? The fact that they can make shiny graphics on modern hardware, well, yes, big deal. We know this. We know what modern hardware can do, and they are not pushing it. It's Space Invaders, more or less. It's nice, shiny, slick, smooth graphics, you know, nice frame rate, nice. It's visually. If it was 1978, I'd be like, holy crap, but it's not. It's 2018, and it's like, so what? I will play it for 5 minutes, and it's vaguely amusing, and that's it. It cost me. It was cheap. It was $2.99, $3.99, something like that. $3.40. I don't remember. It's cheap, and I think for that kind of price, okay, fair enough. It's worth a few plays. I don't begrudge spending that kind of money to have a go just to see is this any good? Is it going to be fun? Because something like Space Invaders Extreme on the PSP, that actually I found very pleasing. The PSP is not amazingly powerful. It didn't really push the graphics, but it did add something. That game added something to Space Invaders, and it was visually stimulating. It kind of took you to... It's a bit of an acid trip kind of game. So it kind of... something to do with the gameplay, the graphics and the music. But that's kind of a rarity in the modern remake, and it wasn't even on especially modern hardware anyway. But mostly these things, I just think they don't impress me. They don't. Largely, they don't even entertain me. I think rather play an old game on old hardware and be impressed by it and think, wow, that they pushed it. They pushed the hardware to achieve this. Yeah. That sounds kind of negative, really, and I'm not grumbling about it. I know there will be people who will like all of this kind of stuff. I think there is a place for it. It's just that the place for it isn't on. It's not on my game system mostly. I will give one or two of them a go, but largely, meh. Don't care. Okay, I'm going to end this bit here. I may come up with something else to talk about because this is too short for a Friday Talkie at the moment. We'll see if I can come up with anything else, and I'll go blah a bit more. Okay, I have more. Actually, it's a question from ReplayRetro, Matt. Hi, Matt. Change glasses. Can't read it from here, because this is relevant to what I've just been talking about, sort of. It follows on nicely anyway. Blah 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 blah. What is your opinion on the rise of projects taking advantage of gullible nostalgia, such as the Coleco Chameleon and more recently the upcoming Atari VCS? Do you think these things are ever anything more than a scam? And if not, do you think there's even a need for such devices in a world where next-gen consoles are just as capable of playing retro-themed, lower-spec games? That is a good question. Coleco Chameleon, well, we know all about that. That was an absolute scam. I can't see the bloody camera now. Not that I need to, but that was just a money grab, wasn't it? That was never going to happen. It was just a complete scam. The Atari box, or Atari VCS as it's called now, I am very wary of that. I believe they're trying to make it. Probably finding it costs an awful lot more than they expected to be able to produce the thing in any numbers. Probably finding all kinds of technical difficulties and licensing difficulties and I don't know what. And probably haven't really thought it through properly in terms of why would you buy that? Because having a modern box that plays Atari 2600 games, what the hell? We've been able to do that for a very, very, very long time on PCs, and I used to emulate on my Amiga back when that was my main computer. I mean, that was a long time ago. Emulation is not new, and the Atari is like so easy to emulate. You don't need an Atari box to do it. If they made it so they had emulation of the 2600, the 5200, the 7800, the Atari 8-bit line of computers, and the Atari Jaguar, and I don't know, could they do the ST on there? I mean, lack of a keyboard, maybe the computers, whatever. All the Atari consoles, if it had all of them emulated on board and the software from all of them, I think that would be interesting. But if it's largely just 2600 stuff and then a load of shovelware from God knows where, that's just like Linux stuff, I see absolutely no point whatsoever. Why? I understand there would be some people who would want it because it says Atari on the box. And Atari are a historic brand in terms of gaming. If you're a certain age, it is just, you know, that kids today, or I say kids today, 30-year-olds are all, oh yes, I remember when I was a kid I played on my NES, and I'm thinking, duh, you know, I was an adult when that came out. It was all about Atari. It was all, have you played Atari today? You didn't ask your kids, have you got a games console? Or ask your kids. You didn't ask your mates, have you got a games console? It was all, have you got an Atari? That was what you asked. It wasn't, what console have you got? It was just, have you got an Atari? And I'm not exaggerating there. That's what you said. So it's an important brand. But this company now, I mean, Atari haven't been Atari for a very long time, but this company now that are producing the Atari box, they've licensed the name. This box, historically, will it ever be important? I don't think so. But there will maybe be some collectors who will want it, saying it's the last Atari console ever. Not in my book, that's the Jaguar. But there will be some people who want it. And of course then you've got things like the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus. Utter debacle. I think it's the usual thing, and we hear it so often. They do their crowdfunding and people cough up money thinking it's all a done deal, that the hardware is sorted, that it's production ready, and they just need the money and away, you know, hey presto, here's a product, when it's not. And that money is going into development, never mind production. And the company, if you can call it a company, doesn't realise what it's going to cost or the difficulties they're going to run into, and so you get delay after delay after delay, and what they eventually produce in very small numbers is a piece of crap that no one in their right mind should spend money on, and anyone who did is going to be gutted. This happens, we've seen it happen, and it will continue to happen. And I have never put money into a crowdfunding of any of these kind of things because I think it is so dangerous. I mean, fair enough if you've got money to throw away. I certainly haven't. Yeah. But on... Okay. PS4 just started doing things. What was I going to say? There is a device that I have seen videos of recently that I actually think, as a recreation of retro hardware or a retro gaming system on new hardware, I like and am impressed by, and would actually kind of... It's the kind of thing I would buy if I had the money, and that is this Geo Mini. Is it so big? It's not big, but it's a mini. It's a tabletop, not a bar. It's not a barcade as they call them. It's just a little tabletop Neo Geo cabinet thing, and it plays a whole bundle of Neo Geo games, and it looks like it does it quite well. I think that's cool. I like it. It's, I mean, what, a 5-inch screen or something, several buttons. That I think is cool. It's not trying to do too much. It's not trying to... It's not new hardware playing classic games and more. It's just, here's a little miniature Neo Geo arcade cabinet that will sit on your desk and you can play. And that is a purity of design and concept that I think is great. The problem with a lot of these new retro systems is that they don't have a purity of design. They don't strict. It's like they've got this idea. Hey, we can use some modern hardware, which generally it's ARM based, I think. They know they can produce it cheaply or get it cheaply. Single board computers are not expensive these days, and they cobble them together and cobble together a user interface or whatever and an operating system, and they think, yeah, we can do that cheap and quick and make a buck. But what they haven't got is a well-defined design concept. They're just like a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of something else and cobble it all together, and you get a piece of crap. And that doesn't work. The Neo Geo, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they wanted, and they did it. And they did it well. And that seems... It's sad that that is such a rare thing these days. That kind of thing could be done well by a lot of companies if they had a mind to, but seems like most of them don't. Yeah, was there anything else? Did I miss anything else? Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on that. Okay, I will stop now. I've probably blathered on for quite a while and it's going to take an age to upload. So, thank you for watching. I lied. I'm not done yet. What did I used to do on the Friday Talkie that I haven't done in a long time? Shoutout. I've not done that. Well, largely I've not done that because I've not done a Friday Talkie, well, apart from the last one. Yeah, Friday Talkie hasn't been a thing in a long time, but I stopped doing the shout-outs before I stopped doing the Friday Talkie. Partly because I was getting bombarded with people saying, please check out my channel, and it got annoying. And partly I wasn't really looking for channels, finding channels or whatever, that I was thinking this is something special. But there is one now that I want to shout out because I like it. Yeah, it's the kind of channel that I like to watch and have been watching quite a bit of since finding him. I say finding him, he found me, but frequently when people come along to my channel and are new to the channel and comment and say, hi, I'm new here, I like your stuff or whatever, I go and check out their stuff, and I like, this sounds wrong, I like his stuff. Who am I talking about? NiftyRetroGamer Neil Morris. I'm looking, his channel's there, I keep looking, you know. Never mind. What does he do? He does retro videos, like commentaries. He plays the game and he talks. And he does it in a way that I like, because he's down to earth with it. There's none of this excitable. You know what I like now. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe it's so long since I've done any of this that you don't remember the kind of thing that I like to watch. Down to earth, no nonsense, none of this excitable shouting, screaming and just behaving like a twit. He just plays it and he talks, and I like the way he does it. I like his attitude, I like his approach. Calm and just enjoyable to listen to. Quite eloquent, he speaks well while he's playing. Lot of games or videos. I'm looking now. How long? How many have we got? Can't see how many there are, but there's quite a few there. Goes back about 4 months. And yeah, quite a lot of videos there. It's well worth a look. Highly recommended. He's currently at 53 subscribers. You see, you will. It's easy to find channels that you think that's good, and they're like big channels, because big channels are easy to find. It's easy to get noticed. Finding the little guys with a small channel, they're hard to find. Good channels with a small subscriber base are difficult to find, but they're out there, and sometimes there are some real gems, and I think this is one of them. That is NiftyRetroGamer Neil Morris. Link down there. Check him out if you get the time. Subscribe if you like what he's doing. Because, well, that's what this is all about. That's what shout-outs are for. Okay, I will shut up now. Honest. Thanks for watching.
What do you mean, subscribe to his Patreon? I already paid for breakfast. What more does he want? What? Oh, seemed he wasn't invited. Oh, I suppose I could eat his as well.